Hi, this is my first broadcast, well, my second technically, but my first one was done by accident. So I hope you can hear me all right and you can see me. And I'd love to hear if you're able to hear and see me right now, just to make sure that I've done everything right. Well, today, okay, great. Today, I'd love to talk about how to feel enthusiastic about new beginnings. This is the new year, only a few days old, and I'm sure some of you face new beginnings in all kinds of different directions. New beginnings in the job, new beginnings with your career, maybe even a new path that you want to go and face. Maybe in your personal life, something's just feeling off and you want to start afresh. And this energy that the new year brings with it, it's just amazing because that's the right time to start new adventures. Now, to feel enthusiastic about new adventures and challenges and changes might be asked a lot. But you may find yourself being able to at least welcome them. And what I wanted to talk about today is what most of us keeps us not so enthusiastic about new changes, especially if we didn't want them, if they're just thrown at us. And that happens from time to time. So maybe you had a bunch of New Year's resolutions that you took and you wanted to bring them, those changes that the resolutions that you thought about into the new year. You started, maybe that's going great, and maybe something's holding you back. These first few days of the new year are the right time to look at where the holdbacks are and somehow get a feeling of how you can overcome them. I would love to talk today about how to feel better, if not enthusiastic, about the new beginnings and cultivate a mindset that embraces those changes. By the end of the broadcast, I would love you to have some tools to really help you go forward with it. Whatever changes you're facing, maybe, as I said, thrown at you without you wanting them. That could be that your job's somewhere on the line, you will not be able to keep it, you lost your job, maybe you face a new direction because you would have to go abroad. I have a client who had offered in his job, he had to go aboard and he didn't want to, so he faces a whole new chapter in his life without even ever imagining that could happen to him. Or maybe someone you really loved and was very close to you died, or someone just decided to move away and your relationship is changing. So there are a lot of things that you cannot do anything about it. So it could feel overwhelming for you. But then there are changes that you do want to welcome, something that you actually felt is off for a long time, something you really feel passionate about, but didn't know how to get it done yet. So for many of us, changes seem often to trigger some fears. Fears are the one thing that holds you back from feeling very enthusiastic and very welcoming to changes and to new beginnings. So with new beginnings, always in some part you have to say goodbye to the old. Either old ways you were living, old ways you were doing your job, or you were caring about your health. So new beginnings are always saying goodbye to your old habits, old patterns, family patterns maybe even. But it's also about overcoming that fear that could come between you and the new beginnings. Excuse me. So how can you overcome those fears? First of all, you have to recognize them. And I would like to tell you something, just some examples how this could show up in your life. If you look more closely, what's holding you back, and acknowledging those fears that may hold you back, they could come from maybe something, how your family or loved ones, or the ones who brought you up, or in the society that you've been brought up, handled fears in your past, in your childhood. A pattern that you saw and took as your own could be a reason to trigger fears. So whenever a situation that's new and a change, a challenge for you, those same fears or those same habits that other people used to live in front of you could be triggered, and you feel yourself being in the same situation and acting the same way, even through if it's not really what you fear. It's just something that you took on. And then another thing could be that you really, whenever you listen to your own heart and your soul, you felt in a way not strong enough to go through that path. And that path that brings you to letting shine your talents, letting shine what really is inside of you, letting shine what you really want to, and why you came here to be. If that's somehow always been kept down and you didn't listen, it's very difficult for you, I suppose, to start listening to that. And that could trigger fear. What happens if I... Now you're listening to Coco. She's waiting for her husband, and everything she sees outside the window, she wants to tell them basically that they're not the right ones to come home. She wants Daniel to be there. Coco. Sorry for that. So, your true talents can't shine in your job or in your environment if you don't let them shine. So if you feel unhappy, uncertain, you feel that you're not really leading that meaningful life that you have, that you would like to, and that you really feel deep inside that you should have, and you deserve, of course, that could be something that makes you unsure to go and step forward in your path. Sometimes people choose to stay in a job just to keep that with the job section, because they're afraid to do something else. Maybe they face new education. Maybe they face to change into a whole new industry where they don't know anyone yet, don't have the connections that they have right now, maybe earn less. You could face all kind of difficulties. And of course, earning less or starting afresh and then not being able to provide the way you've been able to provide for your life, it's difficult and it's scary. And it's very important for me to point out that, of course, those are very good and relevant questions. And we are beings who have a mind, a heart, a soul. We have feelings that show us what makes us happy, what not. But again, we have a mind. And we should never, ever close that down, as much as we should never, ever close our heart or our soul down. So if I say you should really express from your heart and from your soul and seek a way to do something that you really love, then of course I also think it's very important to include the mind. So if you want to start and you want to change the industry and this is going to be difficult financially, then by all means, seek for ways that you could do your job that you don't like at the time, a few hours a week to just, keep you going and help you start, and then start something that you're really passionate about. So as much as we have to include the heart and the soul, we should also include the mind. Now, if we are looking at those fears that could keep us back from change and from new beginnings, either the fear of, as I said, fear of financial difficulties, the fear of failure, for not achieving what we really dream of achieving, what we really want to achieve, because it's easier to stay in a job that you don't like and not be that successful because you don't really like it. But once you put your heart and soul in something, you expect naturally that you will thrive. And I think you will, but because it's logic, if you have your heart and soul in it, it should be successful. But the thing is that often this is where we get scared, because then that job or that direction means something to you, and you want to be great there. You want to succeed. You want to build something that's meaningful. And then the fear, of course, comes in, and this is difficult. This can be difficult. Another thing is, like, you may be in your job because generations of your family have been there. Maybe you're working in a family firm. Maybe they even told you that many of them didn't like the job that they're in. And this is more than time to change that. But because you feel obligated to your family, because maybe they gave you a pretty amazing platform to start your working life. Maybe because you know that they suffered themselves and had to give up their dreams, you feel obligated to stay in there. But I can tell you, in this right time and age, it's very, very important to stay true to yourself. And it's probably a great thing if those family traditions are at least questioned, because nobody should be in something that they don't like. So if you have any questions so far, please let me know. You can tap them in below this video, I suppose, and I should see them. Now, going through that question about fears, I would say the best thing to do, the best tool I always do, is sit down, really take your time and look at what you're fearing most. Maybe you make a list, write down what the new changes and challenges and the new beginnings that you like to welcome. And then make an emotional section and a section for your mind. And in your emotional section, you just write down whatever comes to your mind that emotionally scares you, holds you back, that makes it difficult, that prevents you from being enthusiastic about the new changes and new challenges that you face. And on the mind part, you just write down whatever you think where that comes from, that fear, or wherever you think that is yours, or really something that you have seen in the past, seen people to react that way. Maybe you learned it, maybe it's a family pattern, but we just, like, as much as you give your emotions into that part where you look at your fears, you as much take a back step and look at those things from a certain distance, try to do it really without emotion, and just with your mind pick at it and say, oh, is this really mine? Is this really something that it's a challenge for me, or maybe it's just something that I always seen people to be very scared about, and it's not really a scare that I have. Well, just do that. Write it down on paper. I'm always liking to write things down on paper, sort of writing from your heart, and look at it and summon it at the end and see what really is a real fear. And of course, there are things that are real and that makes us fearful, and then you can find a way to overcome them. And then look at it again and see how many fears you listed at the beginning that prevent you from being enthusiastic about new beginnings, and how many things that are really there in the end that are real threats, real anxieties. And I'm sure it will be much, much shorter. that's just something that I think is important to do as a first step before you deal with, with really stepping enthusiastically into the new. And we really should embrace that now, because with a new year in January, the whole energy is about new beginnings and new things. And it's wonderful to hop on that train and bring our wishes and our true hopes and dreams forward. I would love to see you next week, same time, same place. And if you do not want to miss that, please come to my Facebook group called The Corner Office. Just apply there, and I'd love to have you there. The Corner Office, it's called. So if you have questions, please post them below. I will go back for those who watch live. I'll do it right now. And for those who watch that broadcast later on, I will pop back and look at your questions, and of course, love to answer them. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'm so glad that you catched it here, or catch up later on. And I hope to see you next week, Thursday, 4 CET, Central European Time, which means 10 a.m. East. Okay, well, have a great weekend. Thank you very much for listening, and see you soon. Bye.